Hi, I am Mrs. Tan, a drag artist. We drag artists, aside from the looks we serve and the heels we walk on, do lip sync for a living. Most often than not, we create several realities, tell different stories using the songs that have already been recorded by other artists, and impersonate or give our own take and twists to it. In short, we barely use our own voices. Since I was a kid, I am not used to voicing out my concerns and my own opinions. I just usually echo what I hear, what my mom and family says in order to please them. And of course, in order to feel accepted and validated. But even though I always do that, I still felt alone. During these times, a happy accident happened where I found Mrs. Tan. Mrs. Tan actually became my mother, who was willing to hear every story that runs into my head without judging me the way I am. Mrs. Tan became my father, who is willing to protect me when people try to hurt me for who I am. Mrs. Tan became my older sister, who is willing to support me of the choices I made as I am. Mrs. Tan became the younger sibling who will never leave my side because they love who I am. Mrs. Tan, in short, became the family Ian never had. Mrs. Tan gives me warmth when everyone's trying to leave me in the cold. Mrs. Tan gives me company when everyone's trying to make me feel alone. Mrs. Tan gives me voice when everyone's trying to mute me for living the reality of me. Mrs. Tan gives me the force to smash walls everyone built around me for being unacceptable in the standards that was named by a few. Mrs. Tan gives me home when the society is trying to deny every right just because you don't fit in the larger mold. With this, I fell in love in being Mrs. Tan. Being this larger-than-life character was confident, bold, and brave. Mrs. Tan gave me a voice in order to tell the stories I want to tell, and sometimes tell how everything is fucked up. But everything took a weird turn when the pandemic hit. The stages where Mrs. Tan performed closed one by one, as everyone stayed in the comfort of their own homes. Mrs. Tan actually went into the closet again as I go back to Batangas. Then, again, without any safe spaces, I was left there to confront this person that I never really accepted. I was left alone with Ian. You know what? I really hate this Ian. Always submissive and weak, weird and awkward. I never really use this name. I go with a lot of names depending on the character that I want to portray. But actually, I never used Ian or been comfortable with Ian. During these times that I was left alone, I was forced to confront my inner demons. I was forced in the corner, cowering in fear and trying to find some inner peace. I felt lost again. But drag then again guided me. I saw different drag artists doing Facebook live streams, recreating this bar experience from their houses. I tried it, but during this time, I can't just lip sync. I need to talk to this imaginary audience by asking them to press 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or whatever I want them to press. I need to use my own voice. As I, with other drag artists, establish our own shows, I discovered that I can talk and give power to people. Later on, with the courage, kapal ng mukha, and konting ganda, we proposed our own talk show, LSD, Love, Sex, and Drags, that tackles different topics that are considered taboo. We had 2 seasons and got renewed for a 3rd one. I also had the privilege to talk in front of different young drag artists in the Philippines' very first drag academy. Through these experiences, I personally learned that Mrs. Tan and Ian go hand in hand. They're like twins and they help each other, the yin and the yang. Slowly, I get to accept myself. I get to accept Ian, who never felt accepted, loved, and validated. Before, as Mrs. Tan, we try to give a voice for those who are voiceless without using any voice, with just lip syncing. But now, I'm honored to give a voice to those who are voiceless while using my own voice, not just as Mrs. Tan, but as Ian as well. Drag gave me the voice, and now that we're slowly finding ours, we'll also be giving our voice to amplify other voices, especially the voices of those who are not privileged. Like little kids who felt uncomfortable because they are not living in the body they want to identify with. For those little kids who are not accepted by their families because they want to live their own realities. And for those kids who are bullied, discriminated, and made fun of just for expressing their thoughts and their feelings. Thank you, Mrs. Tan, for giving me the voice that I have been in search of for so long. But it has always been in me. At para sa inyong lahat mga Bex, huwag niyo masyadong pagurin ang inyong mga sarili. Huwag hanap ng pagmamahal mula sa ibang tao. Kasi kahit anong pilit mo, hindi mo mahahanap yan hanggat hindi mo minamahal ang sarili mo. Kasi ang pagmamahal, hindi naman madamot yan eh. Kaya ikaw mismo, huwag mong pagdamutan ng sarili mo ng pagmamahal na hinahanap mo. Kasi ako, nahanap ko na. Yata? Hi, I'm Ian, and thank you for listening.